Okay, so we all have this picture in our heads, right? The ideal partner, the perfect someone.
Yeah, absolutely. Like all those qualities we think we want.
Exactly. Kind, funny, maybe successful, stable. I mean, we could go on and on. But here's the thing. Life doesn't always give us what we think we want, right?
Definitely not.
Yeah.
And actually, that's what we're diving into today. Like, why do we sometimes end up falling for someone totally different from that ideal?
Yeah, it's almost like our brains are working against us. We had some content come in from a listener, and they're super curious about this, particularly when it comes to girls being drawn to, well, how do we put this?
Bad boys.
Yeah, bad boys, even when they say they want the complete opposite.
Oh,
So that's our mission today, figuring out why that happens.
right. Like, why is there this disconnect between what we think we want and who we actually end up being attracted to? It's fascinating.
It really is. And the listener's content actually spells it out. They list all those ideal qualities, the kindness, the respect, all of that.
Oh, yeah, it's like a checklist. But then on the other hand, you've got the bad boy, who's often everything opposite to that list.
Totally. And yet there's this pull, right? This undeniable attraction.
Exactly. It's like that archetype has its own set of appealing qualities, like a little bit of rebelliousness, maybe a touch of danger, and this charisma that's hard to ignore.
And confidence, right. They always seem so sure of themselves.
Oh, absolutely. Confidence is huge. And, if you think about it from an evolutionary psychology standpoint, some of those classic bad boy traits, like confidence and a willingness to, you know, take risks.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day, those things might have actually signaled strength and survival skills.
Whoa, really? So,
Yeah.
even though times have changed, we're still kind of programmed to find some of those traits attractive.
Possibly. It definitely makes you think that attraction isn't always a totally conscious decision, right?
Right. It's like there's this whole other level of instinct going on beneath the surface.
Yeah, definitely. And speaking of things that influence us, we can't forget about like all the media we consume.
You mean movies and TV?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. It's constantly showing us these super intense love stories, where it's all about the brooding bad boy sweeping the innocent girl off her feet.
Yeah, exactly. But those are just stories. Real life is so much more complicated.
Totally. But those stories can create this almost romanticized template in our minds for what passionate love should look like. And that can make it even harder to figure out what a healthy relationship actually is.
Totally agree. So how does all of this tie into, what was it called? The thrill of the chase. The listener mentioned that.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Like, is that part of what makes bad boys so appealing? That unpredictability and excitement.
Yeah.
I think it definitely plays a role. Those bad boy traits often, project this air of confidence, right?
Okay.
And a disregard for norms. And that can be exciting. It creates that whole chase dynamic. But, it's super important to figure out if that excitement is healthy or if it's coming from inconsistency or someone being emotionally unavailable.
It's a really good point.
Ah,
Because it can get confusing, right? When you're in the middle of it all, it's hard to tell the difference.
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another term the listener mentioned, cognitive dissonance.
Ah, yes. This is so relevant here.
Hmm.
Can you break that down for us? What exactly does that mean?
Sure. Cognitive dissonance is that feeling of discomfort we get when our actions don't match up with our beliefs.
Okay.
So let's say you really value things like respect and stability in a partner, but then you find yourself attracted to someone who's the total opposite of that. That conflict between what you believe and what you're doing creates this mental tension.
Wow. Yeah. I think a lot of people have experienced that.
Oh, definitely. And sometimes it can be a pattern, right?
Oh, yeah. It's not always a one-time thing. Some people find themselves falling for the same type of person over and over.
Exactly like that bad boy type, even if those relationships keep leading to heartbreak.
And that can really wear you down.
Absolutely. At that point, it's crucial to look past the initial attraction and figure out what's driving that pattern. Like, what need is that person fulfilling, even if it's not a healthy one?
That's deep. It's like we need to be detectives in our own lives sometimes.
Right. It's so easy to get caught up in the excitement, but if those relationships always end in pain and confusion, it's a sign that something deeper is going on. And honestly, falling for the wrong person over and over can be really damaging to your mental health.
For sure. The listener actually mentioned feeling confused and heartbroken,
Yeah.
even doubting themselves.
Mm,
It can really mess with your self-esteem.
it totally can. And it can even affect how you approach relationships in the future. You start questioning your own judgment, wondering why you keep making the same choices.
So then how do we break free from that cycle? Because it's not about saying that all bad boys are bad.
Right. We're not trying to demonize anyone.
Exactly. It's more about helping people understand why they're drawn to certain types and how to make choices that lead to healthy, happy relationships.
I agree. And it all starts with self-awareness, knowing your values, understanding what you truly need in a partner, and recognizing those red flags early on.
Ooh, red flags. Those are important.
Yeah. And it's not about finding the perfect person, because honestly, no one's perfect. It's more about finding someone who's truly compatible with you, someone who shares your values and brings out your best side.
So it's like finding someone who fits, not just someone who gives you butterflies.
Yeah, I think that's a great way to put it. And the good news is people do break free from those unhealthy
They
patterns.
do.
Oh, yeah, all the time. They learn to recognize what they really want and find love that's built on mutual respect and understanding. Love that lasts.
That's really encouraging to hear. So to our listener who sent in the question, and to everyone listening who's trying to navigate the ups and downs of love, remember this. Understanding why we're drawn to certain people is a huge step towards building stronger, healthier relationships.
I couldn't agree more. And here's something else to think about, something that the listener didn't mention. How much do our early relationships, especially with our families, shape that image we have of the ideal partner?
Whoa, that's a really good question.
It is, right. It makes you realize how all of our experiences contribute to who we are and what we look for in a partner.
This whole conversation has been so insightful. I think we've given everyone a lot to ponder. So thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the fascinating world of attraction and relationships.
Thanks for having me. It was a great discussion.